update for September 2016. I'm Megan Pembroke, Communications Director for the City of Everett. Each month we sit down with Mayor Ray Stephanson to talk about issues and projects that are important to you. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'm wondering where summer went.
It was too quick.
It was too quick. Can't believe it. It was a great summer, though.
It was good. There was a lot happening, happening downtown.
A lot of activities.
Yeah.
Fun, really a fun time.
Now we move on to fall.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to start, as we do each month, talking a little bit about our Safe Streets plan and the Community Streets Initiative. In July, you appointed somebody to lead our efforts at the city and provide some oversight. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You bet. Our efforts around helping people on the street live a better and more productive life and really deal with some of the issues that many of our citizens experience every day with the homeless, I think we're making very good progress. So Hill Kamen, who's the lead prosecutor, or was the lead prosecutor at the City of Everett, engaged with Safe Streets and our efforts from the very beginning. I appointed him to Public Health and Safety Director. So all things around Safe Streets go through Hill, and he's off to a great start. We've had remarkable partnership with the county. Providence Hospital is demonstrating a real strong partnership. I think we really have an opportunity here to make a huge difference in people's lives. We are now taking individuals who commit low-level crimes. It might be trespassing or shoplifting, and they can work off that sentence cleaning streets and cleaning areas around the city that oftentimes they were part of it getting the way that it was. And it's really been remarkable how well received that is by businesses and the public. So, you know, there's always bumps in the road, and there's challenges, and what I'm finding is a very complicated problem, but there's help out there. There's, you know, HUD and the federal government, and there's grant opportunities, and Catholic Housing Services, YWCA. I mean, there's some people that have really been working in these areas for many years, and I think for us to help and support them be more successful is starting to show some real results.
Well, and one of the things that we've learned is really a key is housing. And in May, we announced that we'd selected a potential site for a permanent supportive housing facility. And since then, we've brought Catholic Housing Services on board to develop and build that project and operate it. Can you talk a little bit about where we're at? I know they've been doing due diligence with the site.
Well, we started, Megan, if you recall, we wanted to house our first 6 individuals at the first part of this year, and hopefully 20 by middle of the year. And given the vacancy rate, which is very, very low, it has really been a huge challenge. We haven't given up on that goal, and we're finding more, you know, smaller opportunities to get 20 people housed and get them help and support. But our most significant announcement is, after looking at a variety of properties around the City of Everett, making sure that it qualified for housing vouchers, which is really provides a supplemental rent, or in some cases the rent for individuals housed. We've settled on a location that's just east of Evergreen Way. The crossroad is about Peck's Drive. It's actually property that the city owns. There's a covered reservoir there. There's a fire training facility. So we will carve out a portion of that property to develop 70 units of low barrier housing. We put an RFP out. Catholic Housing Services, which has a great track record in the state and across the country, was the successful bidder. And so they are now doing their due diligence on the property to make sure it's compatible and will work. It is anticipated that I would say after the first of the year, if all goes well, we'll start construction of a 4-story building that will house 70 individuals. And just a reminder to our viewers, low barrier or supportive housing or housing first, it goes by a number of names, really is a very controlled environment where there are staff helping and supporting the residents 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Some of that help may be in the form of medication for mental illness problems. It could be substance abuse problems that individuals are experiencing and are getting the help and support they need. So this is really sort of our first project. I would say that we're probably 24 months away from the construction being completed. So early indications are that the site will work quite well. There are some actions the council will need to take in terms of the property ownership, and so that'll be coming in the coming weeks. But I think all in all, we've got a very good start to providing housing and help and support the individuals on the street need. And I would suspect that we are not, in comparison, we're not that much different than Salt Lake City that started this 10 years ago and over the course of 10 years built 1,000 units of supportive or low barrier housing. And I think we have that same vision and that same challenge in this community, both Everett and Greater Snohomish County.
We have a lot more information at everettwa.gov/housing first for people who are interested in following along. And finally, Mayor, in July, we hosted two great events, one with elected officials from around the county and then one for the public, focusing on innovations in public safety and specifically co-responder teams that have law enforcement with social services. And we've been doing that here in Everett with our embedded social workers. Can you talk a little bit about those events and what you took away from them?
So our model is really to transform policing as we know it. I mean, there are still bad people out there doing bad things, and they need the full force of the law in terms of arrest and prosecution and jail time. But oftentimes people that I've been describing that have, and an awful lot of it goes right back to a drug abuse problem, for example. The jail is really not the facility that can help them. And what we found year after year and individual after individual is it just is a revolving door. A low-level crime, people get arrested, they get 2 weeks or 4 weeks or a couple months in jail, they're back out in the street, and we start it all over again. So we're doing really important work with embedded social workers to break that cycle. We now have 2 on staff with police. So if a police officer goes out, determines that there's an individual who really fits in that category, and we are providing training for our officers, some 40 hours per officer of crisis intervention and mental health kind of training so they can recognize it and deal with it more effectively. And we're getting people, Megan, as you know, into treatment. We're getting them, in some cases, into detox facilities. We have partnerships with PARI and other organizations. Some of this treatment it's like a scholarship, and it's outside the state of Washington. And so, we don't have huge numbers. We're not talking, we've helped 100 people so far, but there are a few dozen that we're starting to help and change their life, and that's, I sort of have described it as as sort of saving one soul at a time. But these are individuals oftentimes who have been on the street for decades, and 20 plus years, and it really takes that moment in time and a lot of conversation and a lot of help and support for them to say, you know, I'm tired of this life. I want something different. I want my life to have more meaning. I want to be back with my family. I want to get a job. So that's really what we're doing. And you know, people say, well, you know, it's expensive. Yeah, it is expensive, but the return on investment in supportive housing, for example, we can house an individual for about $14,000 a year in services. We have individuals that are spending as much as $1 million a year cycling through, you know, paramedic calls and police calls and the emergency room and hospital stays. And, you know, so I think that this is a very cost-effective model. It's got a great return on the investment. You know, like anything that you start, it's going to take some upfront resources. And fortunately, we're in a better economy and we're able to do that. But I think we've got really the makings for a great program long term and a better community. And I can tell you, and you've seen it, most all of our citizens have really embraced doing this in a huge way. It's probably the biggest surprise that I've had in 13 years of all the things that I've been involved with, is that people have real compassion to help others. And, you know, like I challenge or you know, really struggled for a long, long time on how can I help these folks. When people see that there's a productive way to help people, it really does, I think, collectively make us feel that we're really doing something important. And I really saw it this year at National Night Out Against Crime. The comments, the individuals that came up, and yeah, there are questions and there are concerns about impacts on neighborhoods, and I get that. Salt Lake City went through it with its first project. But once they see it, whether you go to Patrick Place in Seattle or to Bellingham or to Spokane, you know, what we're saying is tried and true. It really does work. People aren't wandering around on the sidewalk. They're inside getting the help and support that they need. And I think it's much better to have them there than trying to camp in somebody's yard or out on the streets or asking for money. It will collectively, I think, change and improve our quality of life as a community.
Well, thank you, Mayor. That's all really positive stuff. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Port of Everett and the South Everett Library branch.
A few moments is all it takes for life to come to a screeching halt. At 20 miles per hour, that person has a 95% chance of living. A person struck at 40 miles per hour has an 85% chance of dying. Pedestrian deaths are senseless and preventable. Police are strictly enforcing safety laws. Slow down, be alert, be street smart.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Update. Well, Mayor, this summer you had the chance to participate in kind of a cool event with the port, and this was the moving of the Weyerhaeuser building. That's really part of a much bigger project and construction going on down there. Can you talk a little bit about what that event was like and what else is happening at the port?
Well, the port really has a significant plan in mind for the development of the waterfront. Waterfront Place is going to be a community of residents and small business and shops and restaurants are really going to be a cool place to live and to work and to enjoy. And frankly, it already is. The farmers market moved out to Boxcar Park this summer. I go almost every Sunday. It is packed. I've seen the movies on Friday night. That's pretty cool. Big screen, people sitting outside with lawn chairs with their families watching movies. But what happened in July was the third move for the Weyerhaeuser building. It was right in front of West Marine retail outlet. And when I was on the Chamber of Commerce board for the City of Everett in the mid-90s, we used to meet in there. I remember how hot that building was in the summer. It had no air conditioning. But it's a very cool historic building, some 93 years old. And what Weyerhaeuser did is they put all the different kinds of wood that they produced inside that building. So you'll see every kind of material in that building. So it is really a pretty cool building. And then what really made moving this building to that current location out to Boxcar Park, and it wasn't a long move, but there was a huge safe in that building. That safe was how they used to pay mill workers with cash. And it really made the movement of that building a huge challenge. So Nichols Brothers moved that building in the middle of the night. I was over there the next morning about 5 o'clock. They were sort of stuck halfway in between the new location, but they finally did get it moving. And there's a few things that are really, I think, important and significant about what the port did. One, they saved a huge and important historic building. And I remember when Collins Casket building had to be demolished, and the port took some heat from those who are very committed to the historic buildings. But in this situation, I think the port was very mindful of the importance of that. It is very much the centerpiece of the new port development. It'll be an area where kayakers and others can rent kayaks and use the water. There can be events there. I understand there'll be music events out of the backside of the Weyerhaeuser building. So it's in its new location. It was sitting pretty high for a while because it was still, there was a foundation being built under it, but I don't know if you know, they've now lowered it, and it is on its permanent foundation. So I've been watching the progress of that, but really something to see. Troy McClellan, who's on the Port Commission, said, "This is the last time that this building will move." And I'm thinking to myself, well, we'll see. It has a history of moving around. So I would really urge our viewers to go out, take a look, and if you're going to Farmers Market on a Sunday, you'll see it, but it's directly out in front of Scuttlebutts and the marina offices, so if you look to the west, you'll see it there with its red roof. It's pretty cool. Very cool. A lot of neat things happening at the port. Yeah. Well, finally, Mayor, I wanted to close by talking about the Evergreen Library branch, and this is the expansion of it. Yes. It's something we've been talking about for a long time, much needed, and we've had some real positive progress in the last month or so. Can you share that with our viewers? Yeah, and I want to thank Councilmember Toohey, who represents the council on the library, interfacing with the library staff and board, and she has been a strong advocate for expanding that South Everett branch. It's something that 3 years ago, when I was running for re-election, that I very much wanted to see happen in the 4 years that was ahead of me. And we now have council approval to design that library. We have the revenue identified to do about a 5,000 square foot addition to that building. It gets really heavy use with kids and families. It's really something to see. We expect and anticipate that this will be about a $6 million project. So as we're designing it now, I'm hoping that we will be out to bid right after the first of the year. And I suspect the construction will take probably, 15 to 18 months. So well deserved for the residents of South Everett. I was thinking about it, that when that library was built, it actually was something that I supported when I was on the city council in the mid-'80s. That branch was created. The population in the City of Everett was about 70,000. It's now 85,000 south of 41st. And our total population in the city is about probably very close to 110,000. So it was the right time to do it, and particularly with a facility that gets huge public and family use. The residents that I've talked to out there, want more technology in there, more computer access. That will be part of it. So I think a very exciting time for us to see that that building moving forward. I want to thank the City Council, who's been very, very supportive of the project. So more to come. I suspect that we'll see the design here in the not too distant future.
That's great news. I'm sure we'll be talking about it as the project progresses.
It'll be fun.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us. We hope you'll be back again next month.